Hello all, I welcome you back to this very interesting module on humor. This is my course on enhancing soft skills and personality. We are on lesson number 27, week 6 and unit 2. In the last lesson, I introduced to you the most important and very beneficial component of human life that can be used for communication as well as professional enhancement, that is humor. So, in the last one I discussed about humor in general, that is in communication in general. In this lesson, let us look at humor in workplace. So, before I start, let us take a quick look at what I did in the previous lesson. In the previous lesson, I emphasized on the importance of humor in communication. So, humor, as you know, creates very good mood and spreads positivity around. So, when you are able to evoke laughter around the people, so you actually make them relaxed, then keep them in good mood also. So, humor keeps one healthy, it minimizes worries and it enhances happiness. So, we always remember those who made us laugh, although we will not that easily forget those people who made us cry, but we will always remember those who made us laugh, and every time we see them again in our life, we bring back those old memories and immediately we feel like smiling or laughing at the person whenever we see, at whatever circumstance it may be. So, that is the very positive thing about humor, because it not only makes one lively, but it also becomes contagious and spreads that happiness around. In communication, humor can be used as a very effective communication strategy. So, I was giving example even from great playwrights like Shakespeare, who were using humor both in very tragic situations and horrifying moments. Now, they were deliberately doing that, using drama itself as a kind of communication strategy in order to reduce the pain. So, those days tragedy used to be so severe in terms of emotional impact. So, to make the pain bearable, suddenly they will introduce something humorous, okay. And at the same time they also use this technique of juxtaposing, so that you tend to see both emotions and they will be able to intensify by doing this contrasting technique. But I also suggested that you should be serious when you have to be serious. Okay, although I said that try to use humor in communication as much as possible, I hinted at the fact that you have to be serious when you should be serious. What do I mean by that? Somebody sharing a very sad news, a very bad news. So, that is not the time to crack jokes or something, and then people are already in very intensely felt emotion, and then you cannot actually make them come out of it, and it will look very awkward, uncouth and then incongruous when you try to do that. So, if it is a real serious occasion, so you should not attempt it, but if you want to make somebody come out of a trauma or a tragic situation, and when the person is unduly giving time to this tragedy over a period of time, so then you should try to use your sense of humor to make the person come out of it. In communication, jokes and humorous anecdotes can actually break the monotony. Even in class teaching, even in lectures, a very dry lecture can actually be made very lively by adding some interesting jokes, humorous anecdotes in between. But at the same time I said that understand that humor can operate at 3 levels. At the simple level, it is just a smile. Even if you can evoke just a smile, a very amused look at what you said, So, that is at a very simple friendly level. At a higher level, if you can actually cause belly laughter, make people roar in laughter, so that is at a higher level. But at a lower level, humor can go as low as being sarcastic or poking fun at others or belittling people by making fun in terms of their height, weight, etc., or making fun of somebody's religion or color. So, these things can also come under humor, but at the very low level, which you should avoid if you want to become a very professional person, and if you really are concerned about your soft skills, you should avoid this kind of humor. And if you ask me how to develop humor, so I mentioned in the last lecture that it's a very natural process, because we are all born with this innate sense of humor. So, it's always within us. So, it's only we need to revoke that sense. And in communication, humor makes you successful in transactions and helps you to convey a message effectively. So, I was saying that whether it is even interview or any kind of transaction, if you can make the person laugh, so you will be able to win the situation, and you will be able to gain control of the situation using humor in communication. Now, in this unit, as I said, let us see how we can use humor in workplace. And before we start going to the workplace, I just want to say more about humor, and then how we can make this laughter and living as part and parcel of our life. So, instead of treating humor as a kind of extra added element, so why not we make it as part of our life. Now, in this regard, I remember attending the funeral ceremony of an eminent person whose dead face had a remarkable smile. So, even when the body was kept for the mourners to come and pay homage, what struck all of us was the smile that was on the face. How could a person die smiling? So, was he aware of the death, or was he taking it lightly? So, what was that was making this person give that smile at the point of death? Actually, the person just died of a very silent heart attack, and like people got up in the morning and found that the person passed away. But then the smile was something that everybody was talking about on a dead face, and people interpreted that as contentment of having lived a satisfied life. So, people said that he was very happy, so he was living a content life, that is why the smile came on his face. But I was thinking about that, and I was wondering, as how many of us can assure that we can die with a smile on our face? Can we say, like, even if I practice smiling every day, the day I die, will I have smile on my face? So, there is no guarantee that even if you want to do that deliberately, you can do it. And we know for sure that it is not possible to give any assurance in this regard, but we all know that it is possible to keep smiling when we are living. So, we cannot guarantee that smile will be on our face after our death, but we can guarantee that we can keep a smile on our face when we are living. So, that is the thought I want you to keep in your mind, and as I begin this lecture, I want you to think over this and then understand that laughing and living is possible. Okay, although you cannot guarantee whether you will laugh at the time of your death or after your death you will die laughing, you are not sure. And if you look at smile on people's face, don't we all like the smiling face of someone? So, you will always remember someone some, it could be even the face of children or anybody whom you like, but if you analyze closely, you will find that the likeness is basically because of a very unique smile that you feel somewhat enchanted and attracted. And aren't humans captivating the hearts of others just by beautiful smiles? Sometimes just by giving smile, so people are able to captivate the hearts of others. So smile has this positive impact of capturing people and healing them, connecting them, binding them. So the first lesson, the first point that I am making is that let's laugh as we are living this life. And then how do we do that? So every time when we look at the mirror, so just to remember to add that smile. You should remember that laughter can be therapeutic and contagious. So there is this laughter yoga where people do yoga and then laugh and then relax. There is this laughter therapy where completely they make people smile and heal certain uncurable diseases using this laughter. So it has even this medicinal value, but apart from that, you should understand that laughter generally tries to connect your mind with the body. If you keep your mind cheerful, automatically it's keeping the body healthy. So in fact, if you look at how the word laughter originated, it originated from the Greek word gelos, that is gelos, which means laughter. And you have this gelotology refers to the study of laughter and its effects on the body from a psychological and physiological perspective, which simply means, so gelotology indicates the study that analyzes how laughter is able to connect both the mind and the body. So how somebody who is laughing is mentally as well as physically making him very cheerful. So that is what the study deals with. As another famous poet, Maya Angelou, recommends, laugh as much as possible, always laugh. It's the sweetest thing one can do for oneself and one's fellow human beings. And as Langston Hughes points out, like a welcome summer rain, humor may suddenly cleanse and cool the earth, the air and you. So a room that is choked with, let's say, negativity and then lots of conflicts, suddenly somebody enters and then cracks very good jokes and then very well meant positivity is generated through the jokes. Immediately people feel that the entire room is somewhat like the heat is cooled off and people feel more comfortable, people gain trust with each other. Now, let us ask one simple question when I say that you should laugh and live this life and then you should practice laughing. I was curious and then I was trying to check this fact as how many times do we laugh, particularly in a day. So, can you guess how many times the following people laugh in a day when it is a 4-year-old children on an average and adults above 20 and adults above 40. So, how many times these people laugh in a day? Just try to make a guess. Do they laugh the same number of times or is there a difference, and how much is the difference? Now, when I try to find out answer to these questions, so I found an article and it was discussing these ones which I had referred to at the end of it. You can go through that in detail later. But the answer is this: the 4-year-old children on an average laugh for 300 times. The adults above 20, they laugh for about 15 to 20 times in a day. So, on an average it is like 17.5 times a day. The adults above 40, they laugh only 4 times a day on an average. See the difference from 300 times to 4 times, and we all started with maybe even 500 times, 400 times a day when we were very young infants, and then as we grew up 300 times, 200 times, 100 times, and then slowly it reduced to 20 times, then 10 times, then hardly 4 times. All these psychologists and others try to tell us that it is important that we have to bring back this laughter in our life and increase the frequency, the number of times we can laugh. Because as pointed out by this author Pamela Gerloff, quote unquote, she says, laughter changes us, and in the loveliest ways. When we lighten up, we feel more positive and optimistic, more hopeful and engaged. We are friendlier, more resourceful, more attractive, more radiantly alive. So, that laughter, that cheer radiates from you and shows that you are fully alive. So, she recommends for a healthy life, one should increase the laughter quota to 100 times a day, because another research tells us that 100 times of laughter equals 10 minutes jogging or any kind of exercise, and reduces the risk of heart attack, reduces your calorie. So, it is important that you try to increase, and then you try to keep yourself healthy, let that blood circulation circulate in a very vibrant manner, and then show that you are radiantly alive. So, keep this fact in mind that you need to increase this quota, and it should go at least up to 100 times a day. Now, one of the reasons why our laughter quota reduced is because of the seriousness that is being associated with the workplace. Now, I am not using business or professional place, because today workplace means so many things. The place where we go for working, it may be a corporate office, it may be a business center, it may be a crammed place anywhere, even sometimes people work at home. Okay. So, the place where you work, so that has been associated with lot of seriousness, and generally people think that humor is forbidden in this area. So, you cannot smile at all. Now, as the work pressure keeps increasing in this globalized scenario, we keep forgetting our ability to laugh, and that is how this quota has been reduced from 300 to 4. Now, some people view even their workplace as a kind of torture chamber. They are afraid of even going to work. So, whenever Monday starts, so all headache, all tension, fever, so all negativity comes, and then the workplace itself is seen as a place where you go and then charged with negativity, and it is a place where more negativity gets generated. Now, this is actually a perception, it is a myth, and this negative perception can be changed by introducing humor in workplace. When we learn to laugh together, we will work happily together and generate a positive work environment. So, the key is to join the workforce and make people laugh together, not all the time, but occasionally, to break stress, to break monotony, and create that harmony in work environment. Now, again, if you ask do I need some special training, so sometimes there are some internet sites which are also saying that they can give you training in humor and all that, but in my opinion no special training is required to inculcate humor. because it's inherent in human nature. All of us know what is a good joke, all of us know how to laugh, and as I said, as babies we have all laughed, we have all smiled, we are all amused at some situation or other. Okay, there is no human being who can claim that he or she can never laugh. In fact, humor is a defining characteristic feature that makes a human being essentially human. It's your ability to laugh, it's your ability to smile. That's showing that you are not an animal, you are a human being. Okay. And that ability to radiate liveliness through laughter is something that is special in human beings. So, if you are able to use that to generate positivity and harmony in the workplace, so then you will be able to change that negativity. However, when I say this, some people are afraid of being humorous, thinking that other people might think that they are crazy or are not serious about work. Oh, this guy comes and cracks jokes all the time, so how will he be doing work? Now, this is just a myth or just a perception, because very intelligent people and peak achievers, you will find them just working rigorously and then sparing some moments for joking and breaking that monotony and refreshing themselves. So, if high achievers, peak performers believe in humor, why not a normal person emulate that? So, when people say that, oh, this guy may not be really serious about work, you do not have to bother about that, but try to inculcate this sense of humor in your workplace. Culturally also, humans try to find occasions for laughing together because it fosters bonding within groups. So, if you look at the reasons for people finding some occasion, whether it is a birthday party, whether it is anniversary, any happy occasion to get together, they just want to come and then share happiness, laugh and make this merriment together. So, we cannot neglect someone for being so serious in office, thinking that, oh, this person is not interested in being happy or laughing. It may not be true, because it is there in the gregarious nature of human beings to socialize and use humor as a function of socializing. And normally our life is very chaotic, but if you are able to see a comic sense overlapping all our chaotic routine, we will be able to handle problems easily. Because in all chaotic pattern, if you are able to just find something funny, so it will make you take a different perspective about the situation that is trying to overwhelm you. In workplaces today, in big multinational corporations and all that, humor is used very effectively in problem solving. One of the methods that is used for generating new ideas or resolving conflicts is brainstorming. So, people sit together and then they are given half an hour or 1 hour, and then they are supposed to come out with random thoughts. Now, often brainstorming is used to think out of the box and resolve problematic issues, but the brainstorming sessions which had lot of fun and laughter generated more creative ideas and solved problems quickly. So much research has happened in this area, identifying whether use of humor has actually helped in solving problems quickly, coming out with creative ideas. And one such research, which I have quoted here, indicates those who watched a comedy were measurably better at the task using insight than those who watched a horror film. So, in this research, people were made to watch horror films and comedy, and then both were put in different brainstorming sessions, but the ones who watched comedy, they were able to come out with original fresh insights. Again from the quote, or worse yet, a lecture about quantum electronics. So, a lecture about quantum electronics can be as uninspiring as a horror movie in terms of thinking creatively. What this means for the innovation manager and brainstorm facilitator is that humor, lightened mood and mental spaciousness are important when it comes to encouraging creativity, ideation and problem solving. Now, uh, I try to convince you that it is important to introduce humor in workplace, and then I also mentioned to you that even in brainstorming, those people who used humor and fun came out with lot of original ideas, and there are enough research to indicate that. Now, as a concluding thought, I just want to quote from a small poem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, Two Kinds of People, and I just want you to decide which kind of people you want to be. So, first let us try to know what are these two kinds of people. There are only two kinds of people on earth today, two kinds of people, no more I say, not the rich and the poor, for to know a man's wealth. So, what the poetess is saying, she is saying that when I say two kinds of people, I do not mean the rich and the poor people. So, I am not talking about wealth. You must first know the state of his conscience and health, not the happy and sad, for in life's passing years each has his laughter and each has his tears. So, again she is saying that no, I am not talking about the happy people and the sad people, because in life you will get your share equally, happiness for some time and sorrow for some time. So, I am not going to talk about that. No, the two kinds of people on earth I mean are the people who lift and the other people who lean, or the people who lift and the people who lean. In which class are you? Are you lifting the load of some overtaxed lifter who is going down the road, or are you a leaner who lets others share your portion of toil and labor and care? So, she says she is talking about only two kinds of people, one the lifters, the other who are the leaners. The lifters, they lift the burden from others, the leaners, they lean and suck the energy from others. Okay. So, what type of person are you? Now, I would like to add here, when she says lifters, one of the effective way of lifting somebody's burden is using humor, making them laugh. So, if you belong to the lifter kind, if you want to reduce human problems, and if you want to be the lifter, so use laughter. And one more concluding thought from Michael Pritchard, a very interesting quote. He says, you do not stop laughing because you grow old, you grow old because you stop laughing. So, how nice it is. You do not stop laughing because you grow old. So, do not think that you grow old because you have stopped laughing, but he says it is the other way around. You actually grow old because you stopped laughing. Okay. There are some interesting links from the internet, two of which already I used here in this one, and then generally if you want to know more about managing conflicts with humor, so you can go to this helpguide.org, which has lot of materials. So, thank you for watching this video. In the next one, I will discuss more on how we can use humor and what is its role in work environment. Thanks again.